What's up, basement dwellers? Welcome to another edition of the Jersey Phanatics. I'm Chris the Dace Man, and joining me as always, Erik Perezzo.
What's up?
And we're back this week. We've got our voices back. We're feeling better. The weather has now transitioned fully to winter, so it's stopped fucking with our sinuses. And we're ready to talk some Phillies baseball.
But the allergies are kicking my ass again.
Today was beautiful. And this weekend, it's going to be 30 degrees. It's freaking Jersey for you. But we had a couple Philly Fanatic focuses that we did where we talked about Ryan Howard and Zach Wheeler. But now that the end of the year awards are out, we can discuss those a little bit, and then we'll talk about all the ridiculous fucking rumors that are out there about free agency when realistically the only team making moves are the Angels. So.
Yeah, and they've spent I think over $100 million already, but on no one that really is gonna do much it's not gonna sell out stadiums or get you an extra section in the stadium to come out. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but hey, they're winning free agency so far.
They're making a splash in the kiddie pool for sure. But let's talk about the first award that was up for the MLB End of Year awards, and that's the All MLB team. So obviously they put out a first team and a second team. The only Phillies to make it were Zach Wheeler for the first team, rightfully so, and then Bryce Harper on the second team. What are your thoughts that when we send 8 All-Stars to the All-Star game, only 2 people show up and 1 on the first team for the National League?
I think Bryce should have made it for first team. I think he basically had a more. I don't know if they're dinging him because of the injury and giving it to Vlad. Just for that reason alone, Vlad had a really good year, don't get me wrong, but I think Bryce Harper still defensively was, I think, light years ahead of him. Vlad is a big dude. He can't really move very swiftly. So I think he should have been there. But I also think that Nick Castellanos kind of got screwed, especially for the second team, at least. And it's Duran was good for Boston this year. So was Hernandez, obviously, because I really want him. But I think Nick Castellanos had a more consistent year comparative to those two. But I don't know. Like you said, we had eight All-Stars go to the All-Star game, and only 2 people showed up on the All-MLB. Kind of ridiculous.
I think it's a little. We say this every time we talk about second base. Bryson Stott. I know if this wasn't his best offensive year, but defensively, he should be easily in the talk for that. And offensively, he produced. It wasn't. I know that it wasn't his 300 year like he had last year, but he was still high 200s.
Marte obviously had a great year, so yeah, he's your first team. But Altuve, didn't he miss a big chunk of the year?
Mm-hmm. And then when he came back, he wasn't that great.
Yeah, so. I think that's just bias on that because of what he's been in his name.
Yeah. And then the only other person is, I would say, Chris Sanchez, maybe second team for starting pitcher.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I thought it was a little crazy that Shota was on the second team and not the first team. But there was a lot of good pitching this year. Chris Sale's a bitch, so he shouldn't have been on either of them. And we'll get to reasons why later.
I also think Hoffman should have been on there as well. He's probably been one of your best relievers in the whole entire league. He's commanding a shitload of money this year. That's why he really hasn't signed anything. We'll get to that later. But I think he should have at least been on the second team.
Or even Estevez. I know he wasn't with us the whole year, but he was one of the most sought after trade pieces out there.
Yeah,
and you're telling me he couldn't even make the second team?
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to make first because Clace and Hazley had an amazing year. I think those are rightfully so, but Kirby Yates, I don't know. Didn't know Texas was playing this year. They won a World Series and they're just fuck it. Scherzer take the year off. We're good.
Yeah, and their whole entire pitching staff basically did the same thing. So
and now demanding more money in free agency, which we'll get to. Let's talk about other awards that happened. So the MVP awards, there was no surprises realistically in the MVPs. American League went to Aaron Judge, which he's very lucky that they don't consider the postseason in that conversation. And then the other one goes to Shohei Ohtani, which I think is bullshit, only because how are you an MVP when you didn't do anything defensively?
Yeah, and like it was amazing for his 50-50, but I still think that Francisco Lindor had basically a lot better of a year. And if you take him off of the Mets aren't making the NLCS. You take Shohei off the Dodgers are still making the World Series or the NLCS if you want to do comparison. But like, so I don't know. Like, it was amazing. It's the first time it's ever happened to have the 50-50. But like you said, he was a DH. He didn't play in the field, obviously, because coming back from Tommy John. But dude did nothing else other than that. And plus, he's a fucking cheater.
Yeah, well, yeah. Fucking gambling on baseball, and yet you're getting all these honors.
Yeah.
And you don't even put it on the interpreter bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. Even if I have an interpreter, we have a BPP account, and none of you fuckers have access to it. We don't have much in there, which means like everybody probably should have access to it because who the fuck cares? We can do steal $5.
Yeah.
But it's like, no. Why would you give your interpreter, not your accountant, not your manager, your interpreter? So
millions upon millions.
Yeah, he was interpreting your bets to English when you were going to FanDuel. You little dickhead.
Exactly.
I just think the interesting piece is Big Papi kept kind of saying it throughout the season of like, I want to see where the conversation is, because apparently he kept I didn't follow the career of Big Papi, and to be honest with you, I don't really know what the fuck happened in the American League because I don't care enough to even say if Judge was ran away with it or not. But Big Papi kept making hints at it, like, well, what are they gonna do? Because they kept telling me, since you're a DH, like, shit out of luck, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's how it used to be. That if you're a DH and you weren't in the field, you basically didn't get any consideration for the AL side. So to see that, but yeah, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, I don't want to say he ran away with it, but he was definitely a lot better than what the next was, and I thought the next was Bobby Witt Jr. and I was rooting for him the whole entire year, but I think Bobby Witt basically fell off like 3/4 of the way through, and obviously they don't count for playoffs or anything, but both of them went. Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt, they went completely dead in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, bingo! And wasn't Soto in at least the conversation? I don't remember if he was a finalist.
Yeah, I think he was third or fourth, I believe.
Okay.
I believe he was in. He was up there.
Let's talk about some more bullshit for year-end rewards. Where we go to the Cy Young Award winner. So the American League went to Tarek Skubal, which everybody kind of assumed.
Yeah.
The only downside I saw there was I did like Clace, but you made the point that relievers get the DH treatment. So
yeah, it's very hard. You have to have like 0.02 like ERA for the whole entire year and basically pitch in 81 games. Like you have to be insane in order to be a reliever and get that Cy Young award. So it was he was just phenomenal. The whole every time he pitched, it was just lights out.
So here's the bullshit. And you're gonna say, "Oh, that you're biased because you're a Phillies fan," but I just my key sticking point with this, with Chris Sale winning the Cy Young for the National League, is the workhorse versus what I would deem not a workhorse. He pick and chose when we didn't face him at all.
Well, we faced him once and we lit him up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah. Was it the beginning?
It was the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So, but the second time he bailed when we were supposed to face him. He bailed on him again in the doubleheader, which fine, I get it. Let's save his body for the playoffs. But then he bailed on the playoffs. Like, that's not Cy Young award winner right there. And I know that you're going to say postseason doesn't count. It's been said to me before, but 200 innings is not something common these days when it comes to starting pitching. And the only reason he didn't go more is because Topper took him out before the All-Star break and said, "No, you're getting a rest. You're going to fucking chill."
Yeah, there was only maybe like 2 games that Wheeler really had that got shelled, and that was basically right before Topper's like, dude, you gotta rest. You're
Hmm.
going way too hard, way too much. Let's bring it back just a little bit.
And that's the other thing too. We're gonna keep going the workhorse mentality. He was pitching like 7 to 8 innings almost every goddamn game he
Yeah.
started at the beginning of the season, whereas Sale couldn't get past 5.
And
That's
if we actually showed up offensively too, he would have more wins.
mm-hmm,
Like there was plenty of games that if you look at his games, we lost like 1-0 or 2-0 or 3-2, like some one run bullshit. So if
mm-hmm,
our offense actually showed up in those games and Topper wasn't playing that cool, who's gonna sit today and who's gonna do this and who's gonna do that, like if he didn't play that and had the consistent lineup for majority of the time, then everything would have been fine. Plus we had injuries and stuff, but whatever.
yeah.
Topper's
So
team sucks.
it's really the voting is just stupid, especially since there's that one guy I think put Hunter Green above Wheeler in his votes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And he said he did it because of some, I forget what stat it was, but it was like, dude, really? Like that has nothing to do with what you want on your staff.
Yeah, like I'm not saying Chris Sale didn't pitch good, but clearly he was managed better in a way. And who I don't even know if it's managed better because Wheeler was I think managed well because he can,
Yeah,
whereas Sale was managed because he can't, and they hid like if he was truly if he was him and Zach Wheeler were on par, Sale would have fell off in August because
yeah,
innings pitched, he would have just got he was like full 5 games behind the league average when it comes to Wheeler. So if you assume they all had 5 innings, if 5 innings was the minimum each pitcher did for a game, Wheeler had 5 games on him. So that's like the month of September.
I think what hurt also is that month you're saying, that month that JT Realmuto was out,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Had
had
Garrett
Garrett
calling the game,
Stubbs and Rafael Marchand calling the games, and no offense to them, but they're not JT when he's calling a game.
and that's when we get into free agency. Why I'll make my predictions of why JT's not going anywhere anytime soon,
Mm.
just because of the Wheeler extension. Uh, so I think it's bullshit. This is the second year that's came very close for Zach, and unfortunately, I don't see it. Like I hope he has a good year next year, but realistically, how many more years are you going to have like this?
Yeah, like I don't see that his stuff is going to translate as well as what Chris Sale did. Like Chris Sale's 38 and he
Mm-hmm.
won it for the first time this year. Like I don't see it, his fastball and his uh, other pitches to be able to translate as well as what Sales does.
Yeah, and one thing we've talked about here that, like, at least I don't like about Nola and Wheeler is a lot of their outs are on sac flies.
Yeah,
Oh, and they give up a lot of homers because sometimes they make just a little hair of a miscalculation. So if those miscalculations start coming more and more as he gets older, he's going to quickly drop off.
yep,
Other awards that were given out were the Rookie of the Year. Lewis Gill became the AL Rookie of the Year, and rightfully so, Paul Skeens was the NL Rookie of the Year, who also was like third in the Cy Young voting. So
yep.
had he gone the whole year, I think he probably would have won the Cy Young just because everybody's been jerking him off.
National League, I completely agree with it. You can't go against Paul Skeens at all. The only other case you could make is Merrill from San Diego, but even still, they're going to give it to a pitcher. That's just
Mm-hmm.
what they're going to do. The issue I have, though, is the AL Rookie of the Year going to Gill just because this is like his technically third, fourth year. And it's because of injuries. So, like, he came up and he was lights out his first month or two when he was brought up. And then they sent him down. And then in order to get the years on the contract, so they basically manipulated that. Then he ended up getting injured with the Tommy John surgery, so then he missed another year and a half for that. And then he came back this year or last year, pitched. He got brought back up again, pitched pretty well, sent back down again, Now he was brought up this whole entire year. So this was his first year that was fully up here, but dude's been in the league for at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not really rookie of the year to me.
That's like saying Bohm was.
Yeah.
He had the
So,
COVID year, then he had the up and down year, and then he finally played. So
yeah.
let's make him rookie of that year.
Yeah. So I
Other
disagree with that one, but
who would have you picked? I don't follow the American League enough.
there's not many, unfortunately. I think that's probably why another reason. But it's if it's a dude that's really up here for his second or third season, like I don't think he should have got it.
Mm-hmm. Manager of the year, which American League makes sense to me a little bit. Stephen Vaught became the American League Manager of the Year. I don't fucking get the National League Manager of the Year, which went to Pat Murphy of the Brewers. Thoughts?
Uh, AL was right. Cleveland went way above what they were predicted to do. They were just phenomenal with that whole entire thing, the whole entire year. But the NL, same thing, like I said about with the MVP too. Like when the Mets were a complete and utter disaster, and everyone was writing them off and telling them that they suck and they're the worst team in baseball history, and you have Pete Alonso fighting with people in the dugout, and you have all sorts of chaos every which way, and all of a sudden you get to the NLCS. Like I think Mendoza should have been the freaking NL Manager of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
So
As
especially
much as I hate the Mets.
yeah, especially with Pat having basically a complete all-star team. Mets really didn't have much for majority of the year. You had Francisco Lindor and you had Pete Alonso.
It was signaled last year, mid-year, that they were rebuilding this year when they
Yeah,
went and fucking fire sailed. And then basically up until the All-Star break, they were talking about another fire sale of like moving Alonso, moving some of the pitchers, like all the free agents. They were like, well, all right, let's listen. And here
yeah,
they went, like you said, went to the NLCS. So
yeah.
that's a lot of work for a manager to overcome.
Oh yeah,
Just the
for
morale
sure.
part of it.
Yeah, and they were
Uh,
like 16 games back in like the first month of the season. Like it was bad.
mm-hmm. Some of the participation awards they gave out, the Aaron Awards went to Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. The Hank Aaron Award annually recognizes the best offensive performer in American League and National League. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Ohtani not being an MVP also makes sense. The Clemente Award, which is really just given to the oldest player in the league, goes to Salvador Perez. The honor is bestowed annually to the player who best represents the game of baseball through extraordinary character. Again, if you've been around long enough, this is the hey,
yep,
you're doing good, kiddo.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Then you got down to your Gold Gloves and your Silver Sluggers. So from the Phillies, Gold Glove wise, we had no one. No.
Yeah, we had no one. Yeah, no one won it because we had four players that were up for it. It was Wheeler, Bohm, Bryce Harper, and Stott. They were all the ones that were up for the award, and all four of them lost.
Well, I'll fight the whole Stott thing. Stott to me is the best defensive second baseman in the National League.
Yeah, I think he should have won it over Terang, but
Mm-hmm.
again, it's just I think that with the Silver Slugger, obviously, if Terang won it over him, that makes more sense. But
Mm-hmm.
defensively, the only thing that I can say is that Stott had a pretty rough. I don't know if it was April or May defensively. Like I remember, like what the fuck is going on? Like why does he look so bad?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how far they're going back, and if that's what they're doing, like the full season or what. But still, Stott is amazing at being a defensive player.
And I don't agree with the pitcher because Chris Sale's a bitch. Like, what did
Yeah,
you defend? The bench? Oh
yeah,
no, this is
exactly.
my spot. You can't stay
Yeah,
there. Can't if you're
and
not out there.
that was kind of like a little indication that he was going to win the Cy Young and that Wheeler was going to get screwed over again.
Yeah, because it's bullshit. And then the team overall was the Brewers, which, and then Platinum Glove went to Terang. So I don't
Fuck
remember the
them.
Brewers being that great defensively. Didn't we beat them 6-0 in the
Yeah,
season series? So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you must not have been great fucking defensively that way. It's not like we just kept hitting it to Reese. Um, Silver Slugger, Bryce is the only one from the Phillies that got one. The Dodgers as a whole makes sense. They fucking stack the team with Mookie, Shohei, Hernandez, all respectively won their spots for Silver
Yeah.
Slugger.
Yep.
And now they're going after Juan Soto, so that's fun.
Mm.
Outstanding DH, clearly Otani. When you only have to focus on going out there and hitting dingers, feels like steroid years. Comeback player went to Chris Sale and Garrett Crochet, guy we're chasing in free agency. I'll give Chris Sale comeback. Didn't come all the way back. Didn't
Yeah,
go fucking a lot of innings.
for sure. Definitely a comeback player of the year,
Mm-hmm.
but not Cy Young over Wheeler.
No. Relievers went to Clace and Halsley, which makes sense. And nobody gives a fuck about the executive of the year. Selfish bastards. Do you want to go over the postseason awards or no? Because I really don't care.
Who cares?
Yeah, none of them were Phillies, and there's a reason why they didn't go anywhere in the postseason.
Yeah.
And that'll do it for our end of the year postseason award or end of the year awards for 2024. Hopefully, we have a better conversation next year with more Phillies involved, and maybe some fresh faces. So let's talk free agency.
Let's talk free agency.
The big get out there is Mr. Juan Soto. Let's start with him. There's 5 teams after him. The Phillies may or may not. You keep hearing reports both ways that they were scheduled to have a meeting with him, and then they never contacted Boris about it at all.
Yeah.
So what the fuck's going on there?
Yeah, you have Heyman that is saying that Phillies are in. You have Nightingale that is saying Phillies have never called Boris. They haven't had conversations at all. They're not a team of interest. And then you have other people that are coming out and saying that they're interested, and it's just insane. And apparently all of the teams are supposed to lay out their offers by this weekend. And then I guess he's going to peruse it until February, and that's when he's going to sign, just because of that's how long baseball free agency takes. So everyone has gotten their meetings in, allegedly, unless if you believe Heyman over Nightingale, no matter which way you go. But yeah,
if you're going to
go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a very long, drawn-out process for him to stay in New York.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful. Obviously, you're trying to get the most money. I get it, but like MLB free agency is absolutely the worst. Like when NFL free agency starts, it's immediate. The biggest players are signed on the first day. The same thing with the NBA, same thing with the NHL. Everyone is first day. MLB for some reason takes 6 months. Like none of it makes sense. And then there's just nonstop rumors about, they just came out today that said the Phillies are now interested in Bregman and Adams. Like, I don't know where the hell that came from. Obviously, Bregman makes sense because if you're trying to trade Bohm to the White Sox for Crochet, like, I get it. But where the hell Adams is coming from?
It's such a weird conversation because on one hand, you kind of have Middleton and Dombrowski saying we're going to be fiscally responsible and we have enough stars. And then the trade pieces they're putting up in Bohm, a couple of our prospects like Justin Crawford's been kind of rumored. You think Nick Abel might be in the conversation. I know you'd hate it, but Aiden Miller could be in the conversation because a lot of these pathways are blocked for some of the position players. And then guys like Castellanos, that even if you do move Casty, you're not moving a lot per se.
Yeah.
And you're creating more holes, in my opinion, to get pieces that, like the Crochet conversation. He's going to be on a team where 3 starters are signed for the next 3 years. At least.
Yeah. So he's going to be your 4th starter, and he wants a contract extension no matter where he goes. He could go to Oakland Athletics. It doesn't matter. He wants a contract extension immediately. Yeah. So no matter where he goes. So you're going to have to pull up another $150 million in
and
order to get him.
not to mention, you still got 2 years in the Taiwan contract. I mean, Grant, you don't right now. You don't think he's going to get a spot, but you still have it on the payroll, and you can't unload it. No one's going to fucking take it because he's just declined, and you kept showing off how he was fucking declining. Like, you should have just said, "Oh, he needs Tommy Johns." Like, fuck it, put a Band-Aid on him and make it look like he got Tommy Johns. Like, you made him completely invaluable by the end of the year, as many times as you drug that carcass out on the field for him to progressively get worse.
Yeah, it was
and
like
now you're
just
stuck with
out of
what?
pitching machine.
He's what, 20 million a year? 15 million a year?
25.
Yeah,
he's
so
expensive as shit.
You're stuck with that. And now you got to go get a Garrett Crochet, who's going to probably want the same. Probably
Or
same
more.
years.
Or
yeah,
more.
or more.
Comeback player of the year and all sorts of shit, so.
And then you just got to hope that, Painter's 3 innings every 5 days was good enough in the fall to carry in the 5th spot. And hope none of the other ones get hurt, because pitching is such a fickle position. You just wake up with the weepies and all of a sudden you're on the 30-day list. Good.
There's so much that they want to do and that they can do, but unfortunately, like you said, there's all sorts of players that are blocking it. Like, you can go out and get Hernandez, that's awesome, like Teoscar Hernandez, but Casty is blocking it. Mm-hmm. Or you can go get Juan Soto, but one or the other. If you get Hernandez, then Hernandez is there, and then you got to get rid of Casty. So
the weird thing is, you'd have to get creative. I hate how they get creative, because the Nationals did it with the Strasburg, and obviously the Dodgers did it with Ohtani last season, where they kind of restructure the deal that's team friendly to get them that trophy this year.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because a lot of the guys on the market are kind of older, and you don't want to get stuck with. And we're already stuck in 2 very long-term deals, with one guy trying to get an extension on that long-term deal, which he'll probably get. I mean, he's going to die a Philly. You're really you're sacrificing a lot for a team that hasn't gotten back to that lucky 2022 break.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say, is that you have one player that is begging, or the agent is begging for a contract extension on top of his 13-year deal. Like, dude, how about you get through 1 full year healthy, and let's see what happens. Like, I understand that he's the lifeblood of this team. Like, I get it, but 1 fucking year is all we're asking for. Like, it's not asking for much.
Especially when the back end of his contract will probably be a DH spot. And right now, we're losing some flexibility with the DH spot, because Kyle Schwarber, as much as I shit on him, you don't want to keep putting him out in left field. We put him out in left field 1 fucking time. He hurt his groin and was out for 2 weeks.
Almost immediately, too.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of get it, because he wasn't a runner to begin with. You sat him, and then you said go run, and it was like, okay.
Yep. And then you have Johan that was in the Venezuela or whatever Mexican league, whatever the hell the spring league is, or fall league, and he just keeps getting hurt. Apparently, a couple days ago, he just got hit in the wrist, so he's been out for, I guess, the last couple days now. I haven't seen any update about that. I haven't seen if it's broken or if it's bruised or if it's just, he's a bitch. Like, I don't know.
To your point, that's kind of hurting us too, because now we got all these young guys that are either A, out of options, B, have been pushed to a point where they're not as valuable as they could have been if you, I don't want to say hid them, but didn't showcase them on the major league level, that they were kind of a bust.
Yeah.
You this team has got no leverage in any fucking conversation, in my opinion. And my opinion is not one of a expert, but you look at our trade pieces that we're shopping, it's rough. That's why they're asking for more pieces to the Crochet trade.
Well, the minors, our minor system is one of the best in the league, and unfortunately that's what happens when you have Dave Dombrowski and his staff that comes in. They do an amazing job of talent evaluation, so they're able to get the young players But unfortunately, they build it up and then they tear it down and then they leave. That's what Dave does.
Hmm.
So, and that's kind of like where we're at right now. We have close to the number one farm system in the league, and now all you see is we're going out to get Crochet. We're going out to get Mike Trout. We're finally gonna trade for Mike Trout to have him for 20 games. Yay! Hopefully the 20 games are in the playoffs.
It's
But
stuck on what, an 8-year deal, 9-year deal.
yeah, yeah. Um, so you have like all these players that they're trying to get, but they're trying to build up Johan in the fall league. Can't do it because he keeps getting hurt no matter what he does.
Hmm.
So last year they had him just put on 15 pounds of muscle, and they're hoping that was going to help him offensively, and that tore down his defensive
Well,
skill.
I was gonna say, to what end? Because they did the same tactic with him last year, where he was, if I'm not wrong, he was phenomenal in those other leagues he was playing in. Came in to spring training, wasn't lighting the world on fire, but everybody was bitching that he was our ninth hitter.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be the same thing with him.
Mhm.
They're basically willing to sell out our entire outfield and flip it. If you listen to the Philadelphia fan base, Cassie, Marsh, Johan, none of you are safe in Philadelphia. And honestly, I don't. The whole problem, and we keep having this conversation on private chats, is when you trade these people away, how do you upgrade without putting yourself in a further hole? If you went and got that Crochet, we'll stick with Garrett Crochet for this first part. You're trading away Bohm. Now you have a hole in third. I don't think you get a Bohm caliber third baseman back in the free agency because Bregman's going to be too high.
Bregman's already 30, so
A deficit.
Bone right now is 28. So
Hmm.
you're already going over the baseball player Mendoza line.
Hmm.
Say they usually say after he turns 30, that's when it starts going downhill. So you're already getting the guy on he wants a fucking 10-year deal, like goddamn Machado wanted or
Yeah,
got. Like it's absolutely insane. So you're getting rid of Bohm, and you may be upgrading offensively for what, a
which is
year,
debatable.
2 years?
I really think Bregman offensively as an upgrade is debatable compared to Bohm because I know his postseason numbers are better, um, but without Bohm, do we get to the postseason? Because
Yeah,
he was consistent all the way to August, and then all of a sudden got his heart broke and had to use his hand for other things, and that's why his hand started hurting. Um, but he picked up where our stars only did like a month worth of production, or July when they all went on fucking IL, where literally every fucking Turner,
yeah.
JT, Marsh, they were all out at the same fucking time. Harper, I think he was out during that time too, and Schwarber cooled off after having such a hot start. Bregman having slower starts, I don't think that meshes well with our team chemistry, with people who aren't consistent.
No, and especially coming into the city, it seems like there's like the Philly slump for the first year.
Hmm.
So if he has a slow start and if he has an awful first year, it's going to be the same thing that they did with Casty, is just begging to trade him or upgrade
Hmm.
him or something.
And you're going to be stuck in a stupid Boris contract, and you're screwed. And
Yep.
I think the crazy thing too is in 2023 when we won the top level wild card, the daycare got us there. It's like both years, and maybe even 2022. It was not the stars. I know the stars contribute to it. The stars definitely give you that push over the edge, but the consistency of that daycare portion of it, or who are now way older now, probably third graders at this point,
Yeah.
they're consistent. And you're going to trade that for, to your point, a Bregman who's 30, could go on the IL a lot more than Bohm. Like, and just, I don't even know what Bregman defensively is like. I'm not saying Bohm's the best third baseman when it comes to defense,
No, he
but
definitely upgraded though this year. Like he definitely
mhm,
got better he was in consideration for Gold Glove.
yeah, his trajectory's going up. To me, Bregman's plateaued.
Yeah.
So and Bohm's cheaper at this point. And I get that you're trying to build other pieces of the rotation, but like as much as I would love a Crochet or somebody, there's got to be an alternative on the free agency that you don't have to lose the farm for to fill the fourth and fifth spot. Because your fourth and fifth right now are Ranger and Painter. We'll assume they're not bad fourth and fifth,
Yeah,
especially if you inning manage Ranger. Don't let
yeah.
him fucking finish games.
If Ranger gets back to where he was a couple years ago, it's definitely 10 times better than what Crochet will give you.
Up until July, Ranger was Cy Young.
Yeah,
So like that's our fourth.
yeah,
And do you really want to trade away a third baseman, get a mediocre third baseman, get stuck with and not he's not a terrible player. I love him as a bench piece, but get stuck with Sosa at third base just to get one more starter. When you've got three really good ones, a four who has proven he could be good, and Painter who is projected to be the guy that'll be being number 1 and 2 with Nola when Nola's tapering off his career.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
I know that's a weird free agency person to get stuck on right now, but Crochet just seems to be the hot topic that's with the trade pieces.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you know, you have a free agent right now in Corbin Burns, who obviously has been amazing everywhere that he's gone, and he's linked to the Dodgers, so I get it, and he's also going to be expensive as shit, so I get it, but you should be in on everybody. You should at least kick those tires and just to see where he's at. Maybe they are doing that. I don't know, but there's been zero link to him at all, and he should be like the first one that you should be like, hey, what are you costing? How long is it going to be? What can we do? Because right now our window, in my eyes, is shut, but it's really close to being open again. You could win that World Series that you desperately want, and that's what you thought you were going to get in the Orioles this year, and you didn't get it. But how about you come here and we can do that, and then we can reassess after that.
Yeah, and even to the as much as I don't care for them, kick the tires on the vets. Like check out what Verlander would cost for maybe a year. Check what Scherzer would cost for maybe a year. They're a contingency plan, which could be low risk, high reward, if Painter and Suarez doesn't work out. The Turnbull approach that we did. Hell, Turnbull could be a piece. Lorenzen could be a piece that you kick the tire on. These are guys that can give you innings. Are probably a third or second on some of the teams they could end up on. Why would not make them the fifth or fourth?
Especially like if you go after a Verlander or a Scherzer, you're gonna, they're coming back from the serious injuries, so they're not going to be going the full 6, 7, 8, 9 innings, and you can team them up with Painter to start because Painter's not going to be able to do the same thing, so you can piggyback off each other.
Ramp them up. I mean, we've taken that approach in certain situations. We brought Thor in, and he kind of platooned with Gibson, and I forget who the other guy was, but like we basically were. I think Sanchez might have been in the mix for one of those years, where they were kind of like building up the next guy. And to your point, Painter could be that, and to have even a Lorenzen. Like I was a big fan of Lorenzen. I think we unfortunately got hit. Fucking ran him into the ground the first day he was here, and then got the ass end of that deal.
Yeah,
because just Raw or Topper and the pitching team should just manage the innings better, and I think you can get away with a Lorenzen, or you can get away with even a Turnbull again if Turnbull comes back.
Yeah, yep, and it's there's a lot of options that they can do. And you're hoping that this is what they're talking about on a daily basis, and they're not just talking about let's trade Aiden Miller, let's trade Justin Crawford, let's trade all these prospects to get a potential in having a guy that's only going to be here for a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I guarantee he's only here for a year. There's no way the Phillies, with the contracts you're going to lose a lot of other people and create a lot of other holes if you do extend the man. So instead of trying to trade off pieces that work, and I'm going to say Bohm is a piece that works, and to me, Bohm is the Phillies' third baseman for the foreseeable future, and he was like. He's not the second coming of Schmidt, but he's a hell of a third baseman. It's very hard to remember who the hell was the third baseman during the 2008 team.
Yeah.
So why would you risk that for low cost? Um, the other piece of the conversation when it comes to free agency, and it's been kicked around, we'll move over to behind home plate, is the catcher. Now, JT's in his final year. You and I have gone back and forth on this. I think he gets extended. My logic behind that is, and we hinted at it a little bit during the Cy Young conversation, the pitchers are comfortable with him. And it shows that when he's not there, they're not at their peak. And I don't. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say the only thing I don't. If he comes back with some stupid number, he's not getting extended. But I really think JT is a realist, I want to say, that he is not the best catcher in baseball anymore. He can call probably one of the best games, but he's probably fifth or sixth. The only benefit he has is his free agency class. He's the best catcher in the free agency class.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, he's one of the best pitchers or one of the best catchers in the free agency class that's coming up. But like you said, there's nobody else out there. The only thing that gives me hesitation is that every year he's declining with his offensive numbers and even his defensive numbers. For catchers, they look at pop time and they look at like stolen bases and everything like that. And his number, like, it jumped a lot to how much people were stealing this year compared to what it's been previous years.
I'm hoping it's the meniscus thing.
Yeah. And I'm also hoping that it's just because of those goddamn bags too, that they increased the bag. So it takes that a little bit away. But still, the pop time itself, that has gone up. And I know it's only like 0.02 seconds, but that's major considering for the catchers. He's, like you said, he went from being the best catcher in baseball down to like fifth or sixth, and that was just because of his defensive numbers and offensive numbers combined. But defensive numbers are what concerns me the most, because you normally don't get that great of pop from catchers.
I also think it hurts with our team scenario, and we've talked about, I think it was the Brewers or maybe the Cardinals. Basically, their catcher could play every day, but didn't have to catch every day. Whereas we're kind of stuck in again, I'm not trying to shit. I know my thing is to shit on Schwarber, but I'm not trying to shit on Schwarber. He blocks a lot of flexibility when it comes to giving guys rest without giving guys rest. So that, like if they're in a hitting streak, but maybe he shouldn't be on his fucking knees every goddamn day, he could play DH, but then Schwarber sits because then Garrett's got to catch.
Yeah.
Or somebody, you're going to suffer offensively to get him into a DH spot to give him a break off catcher. So at that point, it's just like, well, JT can just sit, which I think he clearly wants to play every day, so he loses that flexibility. The free agency, his year, it's what, Salvador Perez is the other free agent, which would be top tier if you're talking catchers. I don't think Salvador keeps going. I think that he's going to ride out his KC contract and then maybe ride off into the sunset, unless they come back with like a friendly deal in KC.
Yeah.
So JT is going to be the best one on the market.
Because I don't think they have anything else out there in KC at all. Like, not even, like, I don't want to say even close. Like, because Salvador is a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's old as shit. He's like 75.
And the sad thing is, he's our age, and I know what it feels like to try to squat. So you're doing that 162 games or 100 games.
But,
but that kind of presents us a problem when we're having this conversation next year. We don't have a deep catchers. The prospect you mentioned to me, he's probably 3 years out.
Yeah, and Eduardo Tate.
Yeah, and our next guy has had a back injury almost every damn year.
Yeah, just from waking up in the morning and trying to brush his teeth, he gets injured.
Even though he had a great run this year when he came up to the majors, and everybody's like, nah, fucking send Garrett down, keep him up here. He ended the year with a back injury.
Yeah. Yep. I was
So,
just gonna say.
like, I know people want to get on the Garrett hate train, but dude, look what's behind Garrett. There's really not much. And backup catcher wise, I think d'Arnaud would have been the only suitable suitor that wasn't too expensive that could have been backup. But if you're getting Garrett for $2 million and d'Arnaud got 8,
Oh yeah.
you're trying to rebuild your outfield and try to get in our starting pitcher. Garrett is a very suitable backup.
And it seems like the I saw like the breakdown of the contract, and it's a lot of like incentives
Mm-hmm.
too of him being on the majors. So it seems like he's going to start in the minors and is going to like I think it's going to be Marchand's job to basically
Lose.
have in the majors. And if he loses it, then obviously Garrett is back in. But I think it's Marchand's before he brushes his teeth.
Which it'd be crazy, and that's why like because JT's name's been floated out there, not as heavily as like Bohm. Bohm, it's just like I think the fucking first day he's gone,
Yeah.
and to like the weirdest fucking places at first. JT was floated. I want to talk about it. I personally think he gets extended in the offseason. I do see the front office having him as a priority. Um, just because of how he calls games. Like you don't go and sign Aaron for 7 years, extend Zach for 3, extend Sanchez for 3, and go, yeah, let's get this kid a chance calling these Cy Young award winning or Cy Young nominated pitchers.
Yeah. And like even like going back to Bohm, you're saying like who's going to replace him? Like they were even linked to Vladdy a little bit too, and like it's just all these people that they're linked to. Like you're going from somebody who you question the defense not on a daily basis, but you basically made that player say, "I fucking hate this place," and you're going to bring in Vladdy, who has I think the worst defensive like WAR or whatever the hell that stat is like across all of the position players.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not great. So if you think he's going
And
to
you're
come
moving him
in
to
and
third, right?
yeah, well he originally came up as a third baseman and then they moved
Mm-hmm.
him to first base because how bad he was at third base, and then he put him at first base hoping that it was going to be better for him, and it wasn't. Like the dude has lost like balls coming directly at him. He just doesn't get his glove down or nothing. Like he can't move.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the only thing that you care about is that he's going to come in and hit like 60 home runs, and you're hoping that your pitching staff isn't going to give up 60 home runs. But
or keep giving it down the third baseline.
yeah, yeah, like one or the other, and that's you're just hoping that the
Could
whole
you?
entire team is going to click at once. And we found out that's not going to happen in this team.
And he's not the worst, but could you imagine Trey at short and Vlad at third?
Oh, dude, it would be awful.
Especially when like Trey's supposed to be this Gold Glove shortstop, and he has not been a Gold Glove shortstop since he got here.
Well, all of a sudden you're going to see Bryce Harper doing ground balls at third base, and Vlad's going to be at first, and then Trey's going to be at second, and Stott's going to be at short. You're like, what the fuck happened this all season?
Mm-hmm. So one of the areas I do think will realistically make moves in is our outfield. We have had this. I would say even last year, like opening day, it was a question of who, and then we never solved that question. We went out during the trade deadline, made a flop move there. Who he also got non-tendered out of
Yeah,
the people that were Austin Hayes is gone. Um, I like Marshy. I would like to see Marshy stay because I do think he is a good backup or even a starter in left field. But a good backup to like give the breaks where they need to be in
yeah.
center and left.
I think him and Johan are a hell of a platoon tandem. Like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, it makes sense. But I understand where Dave and the rest of the fan base are coming from is like when you're begging for more offensive opportunities to come from those positions, you're not getting that right now.
Yeah, and you won't. Let's call it like it is. You're not going to get. When I look at Johan Rojas, I'm not looking at an offensive player, no matter
No,
what you do to him. Brandon has streaks, but our other left fielder, Kyle Schwarber, had streaks.
Yeah.
So you can't have two streaky players. So if you were, I can see where they're both being used as pieces to a trade conversation. I don't think we should move on from Castellanos. I know there's a fucking burning hatred for him for some reason. Like, not even, I wouldn't even say hatred, just like.
No, it's a hatred.
It's stupid because he's the most consistent.
Yeah.
I know he had a slow start last year. He was an All-Star the year before, and both of them sucked in their first year. And even Castellanos' suck wasn't as sucky as some other people that happened that year.
The only reason why people want to get rid of him is just because of the chase rate. That you're sick and tired of having 6 players in the lineup that chase at everything.
But, and this is, to me, is a manager's problem, because when you signed him, that's who he is.
Yeah.
And you put him behind, he didn't give him anyone behind him. So they're not going to pitch to him. Why would you want to ever, you shouldn't ever pitch to Castellanos when he's batting 5th and 6th. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna work around him to get the Bryson Stott, who's having the worst year of his career right now. Sure.
Yeah.
You put him in second. Like, if you do a true lineup where this dickhead isn't blocking the leadoff, where it's Trey, Casty, Harper, Schwarber, I don't want to pitch against that.
Yeah, it's a lot better, and I think it gives Trey more confidence as well. It may end up
doesn't put Trey in
over Kyle, but dude, like, Trey sucks.
And even so, okay, if that doesn't work out, Kyle's leading off the next inning.
Yeah. Yep.
So for 30 fucking times, or what was he, 14 times where he had that leadoff home run, that's at 162 games.
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? Because he didn't do it during the postseason.
I'd much rather have him have a grand slam than getting a solo home run.
Yeah. 14 grand slams sound nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
14 home runs with some fucking RBI sounds nice.
Yeah.
And I think it just changes the dynamic of how people have to approach, because you stuck to your guns that he was leadoff this year, fine. Whatever. You didn't, okay, you want to throw out Dancing on My Own, you want to throw Garrett Stubbs into a fucking blender because it just isn't working. It's just not working. They didn't win the World Series with him in leadoff ever. So try something new. Like, you're going to sit there and say, okay, Cassie's not working, try something fucking new.
It's time to move on from that experiment.
Just, like, go the month of fucking April. If all these guys come back, you're not moving Schwarber to leadoff. Just fucking deal with it, dude.
Yeah.
You bitch about it, I'll move you further down.
You need to be able to have more protection for Bryce, and that's having Kyle behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you have to worry about, because everyone was pitching around Bryce because you knew that you had JT, or you had Bryson Stott, or you had Casty, one of those 3, and all of them were chasing. All of them, like, besides Casty, had a little bit of down year, but they knew that they were still going to strike him out or get him out no matter what.
The only time Bryce had a good run this year was when Bohm had a good run. Because they couldn't get around. If they went around Bryce, they had to deal with Bohm.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get that Bohm again this year, especially with the way, like, if I'm a pitcher, okay, if I'm the Braves playing you opening day and Bohm is still in the 4th spot, I'm not worried about him. I saw how he ended last year. I saw you were trying to get rid of him. Yeah. I know his head's not there. Now, if you put Schwarber there, all right, so they're actually taking shit seriously.
Yeah.
It's just, Casty doesn't even have to be the number 2 hitter, but if you put Casty, like, in front of somebody who can do damage, then Casty does damage.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to try to pitch him tighter to get around, like, to not get the Bryce.
But your leadoff should be either Trey or Bryson Stott. One of the two. And that's where it should be. And that's where the conversation should start. It shouldn't start with, okay, we're going to start with Schwarber here. Like, that shouldn't come out of your mouth. It shouldn't come out of Dave's mouth. Shouldn't come out of Topper's mouth. The whole entire spring training, nothing. Like, It shouldn't even be entertained.
It shouldn't come out of a fucking fan's mouth who sits there and gets really fucking frustrated that we don't change a goddamn thing, but are okay with him being leadoff.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Your logic, you can't be hypocritical in this aspect. If you're going to sit there and say, oh, we got to get rid of the song. The song was a loser song. We got to get rid of Garrett. Garrett's just vibe officers are stupid, or whatever the case may be. Schwarber as leadoff has not won us a World Series. Hell,
Yeah.
Schwarber as leadoff hasn't gotten us anywhere close to the fucking World Series lately.
Yeah. Yeah. We had the one, obviously, 2022, but look how that worked out. All of a sudden, we got no hit.
Yeah. Look at the NLCS in 2023. Where was Schwarber on that one?
Yeah.
Right? Look at what just happened last year. The only guy who was doing something was Casty.
Yeah.
I get the urge to unload one of these larger contracts, and the sad fact that you can't, because who's going to take on any of our large contracts? No one.
No.
Schwarber's not playing at a $20 million rate. Cassie's not playing at $20 million. Taiwan's should be in a fucking hot dog stand. That's about all he can fucking do.
He should be in that KBO, and they probably wouldn't even take him over there.
Yeah, they would laugh at you. Like, really? And maybe he can, give us water, refill the seeds. Maybe not even that, because we see how weak his fucking arm is.
Yeah.
Unloading these contracts are probably unrealistic. So now you got to play with what you got, at least for one more year. Because at the end of this year, let's just say, all right, we didn't make it. Buy JT, buy Schwarber. You just unloaded $40 million there, or $45 million. So now you can start playing again, as long as you didn't go out and sign a Juan Soto and you've just fucked yourself for the next decade.
Yeah.
I don't see unloading Casty as the answer. So what is the answer to balance that outfield without hurting us too much defensively?
The smartest play for them to do is signing Teoscar. That's your best bet. He's going to be your left fielder. Your center field is going to be the platoon of Marsh and Johan. So it's going to be frustrating that you're not going to get any offense from that. But at least you'll know that you're going to get defense from that. But Teoscar's your best bet. He's gonna be your most consistent hitter on the team as long as obviously stay healthy. We're not gonna caveat that with every single person that we're gonna talk about, but like as long as all that happens, Teoscar's gonna be your best pickup. And I don't think he's gonna experience the first year yips or whatever the hell you want to call it. But like the number one person that you could sign and really help you in both offensive and defensively would be Luis Arias, but I don't know where you would put him. Like unless you trade a third and stop to short, and then you put him at second, and
with that crazy idea with Trey and outfield.
Yeah, like I don't know what you do with it, but he's going to be your best hitter, obviously, if you don't sign Teoscar. But if you sign Teoscar too, like it's
game over.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about like a Santander? Or isn't Kiki Hernandez out there too?
Yeah.
As an option?
Yeah. Santander is pretty good. I like him as well, but I think Teoscar has an edge over him in my eyes. I don't really think it's like much. Like it's not like you're going from a 40 home run down to like a 15. Like it's not drastic. Like it's like 35 and 30. Like it's going to be pretty damn close offensive numbers. Defensive, they're basically the same. I think they're the same age too, if I remember correctly.
At least from my perspective, offensively, I don't want you to sign a guy who's hitting dingers. We need small ball players, in my opinion, because we have too many of these bell smashers. If you remember that whole fucking
smash the bell,
that never came to fruition. Just get somebody who can play small ball. I think what really helped the Dodgers was Mookie. He could play any fucking position. He can small ball the hell out of you, and then you have people like Freeman and Ohtani that could hit the dingers. Fuck it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
So
there's got to be that like not low costing, but middle of the road price tag outfielder out there, while having the low risk Brandon and Johan. Like, because if let's just say one of them do pop off this year offensively, fantastic. We're paying what, a couple $100,000 for him?
yeah, and I think that could be either the one or the other, the Santander or Teoscar. One of the
Mm-hmm.
two, I think, could be that.
Yeah, I had those two, at least in our private conversations. I had those two, and I had Bellinger until he went and re-signed with the Cubs, which Bellinger's now, they're trying to trade him. Like, why the fuck do you re-sign him if you're trying to trade him?
They apparently went to the winter meetings, and they've been trying to tell every single team that they want him gone. So I don't know what the fuck happened, but they're done with him.
I think the Cubs are just in fire sale. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think they have any intention to do anything next year and hope that they get like a Mets or Phillies run.
which is crazy because I don't think they had many like big numbers like contract wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. It shocked me.
They don't, because Bellinger is their big contract, is he not?
Yeah.
Maybe trying to just bring Rizzo back. The only other thing we have to talk about in free agency, and I thank you if you guys have stuck with us this long, because this is a longer episode, because we have a lot to talk about. But the bullpen, we lost two arms, two All-Star arms in Estevez and Hoffman. Strami is on his last year, I believe, with an option for next year. The bullpen failed us in the postseason, and unfortunately, it was our All-Stars that failed us, which is just mind-blowing. But yeah, I mean, that's just, again, I think this team is terrible at managing their pitching. But what do you think we do? Because every friggin' article I've read is that we're linked, or at least the expectation is Tanner Scott's coming to town.
Yeah.
I personally, and I think every time we talk about pitching on this podcast, I hate long-term contracts with pitchers. It's just such a fickle fucking position, because you can, again, have a bad day and then you're out on the 15 IL.
Yeah, or Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, especially with all these assholes trying to throw 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens, I love you, but like, this is probably your year to get it. What do you think we do in the bullpen? Is it Tanner Scott? Are we going back to Hoffman? Is Estevez in the conversation? Like, are we going to go after these big pieces, or are we going to try to piecemeal it like we've tried almost every year?
Well, I think Hoffman's gone because apparently he wants to be a starting pitcher again, which is so random, and I didn't expect that to come. But okay, you want to do that? Understandable. You had your best 2 years back in the majors. Like, I get it. Enjoy. Mm-hmm. I think the chance of Estevez coming back is pretty high. They may, like you said, go out and get Scott. Seems like Scott wants to come here over everything too. But
is he a high price tag? I haven't heard numbers when it comes to these guys.
Yeah, he's one of the best pitchers out there, the bullpen arms out there. So he's going to get pretty big price tag. Our outfield and relief pitcher all goes away last year if you ended up doing that trade last year and making sure Rooker and Miller did not leave the city. And that was what it was linked. When Oakland came here, they were saying, hey, we're up for the idea of doing this trade. And all of a sudden we're like, nah, you know what? Let's not do that. And then you went out and got Hayes, and now you're like...
We went out and got Hayes and sabotaged the Orioles.
Yeah, and everyone's like, well, what the fuck are we going to do about outfielder and relief pitcher now? Like, you had one of the best freaking relief pitchers in the building, and he was on the trade block. You had one of the best power offensive outfielders in the building, and he was on the trade block. And then you decided, nah, we're not going to do that just because Rooker's defense sucks. He's not consistent. And then all of a sudden he had the best second half of his career. He was phenomenal, making diving catches and all sorts of shit. So something lit a fire under his ass. Maybe it was all that conversation, but he looked freaking amazing all of a sudden to end the year. But that right now you're not talking about bringing back Estevez. You're not talking about bringing back Hoffman. You're not talking about bringing in Scott because you get Mason Miller here, who's one of the best and also like 23 years old. So you can give him a $700 million contract, have fun, whatever the hell you want. But it wasn't, you didn't have to keep going year to year with wondering who's going to be your outfielder, who's going to be your relief pitcher, or who's going to be your closing pitcher. You had the two here. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be piecemealed again. But I think Estevez is going to come back. Unfortunately, I don't like him, but there's really not much out there. Scott, I think they're going to sign as well, and then they're just going to get other minor things. Or if they get Crochet, they may move Ranger into the bullpen. That could be an option too. So there's so many fucking moving pieces,
and stuck with some bad pieces. Because, I mean, you got to remember, Alvarado was not doing Alvarado things by the end of last year. Hopefully he bounces back. I know there was like a whole incident in Venezuela or something with him that kind of like threw him off his game a bit, and rightfully so. Shit gets in your head. Again, this is why pitching to me is such a fickle fucking position.
Yeah.
Kerkering shows promise. It's just like weird streaky promise sometimes.
Yep.
I'll never hate Strami. Strami's my guy.
Yeah, he is what he is. Like he's not going to be your power thrower. He's not going to be your strikeout thrower. Like he's what he is.
I love it when he's just not a bitch. He goes after them. He went after Ohtani. Did not fucking fear him.
Yeah.
And Ohtani couldn't hit him.
He's a really good pitcher, but like I said, he is what he is. Like He's going to give up the long ball. He's going to potentially walk a few people, but he's going to come out every single day if you want him to come out every single day. He's not going to say what Papelbon did and was like, oh, I can't do back-to-back days. He's going to come back every single day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be interested to see if we're talking next week about some free agency signings over the Thanksgiving holiday.
I hope we talk about one. That's not the Angels.
We could be. Or unfortunately pissing and moaning that Juan Soto's back in the National League East.
You also have that other guy, the guy coming from Japan again too, but he's not being posted until mid-January. So
we got time to stress over that.
Yeah. So we're gonna miss out on that too, but.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on the Jersey Phanatics this week. It's Thanksgiving week, so all our other projects are pretty much on hold. But go check out the first 5 episodes of the Weekly Protocol, which featured airports, Halloween, book to film, Thanksgiving. Football. You know what? I did the monologue for Thanksgiving and forgot football. It's because I wasn't involved in the football one. And then we're back next week with parenting. And then new episodes in December that we hopefully will start recording sooner than later. And then we got every Friday dropping a Dace-tacular Mind. Again, week off. We're dropping Dace-tacular People. It's a segment where now I interview other people. You go check out the Cheever, Cotter, LaCava, and Frank Ward episodes that have dropped. And then I've already had conversations with other people, so hopefully I'll be recording them this week to return next week with some more stuff. But Eric, what do you got going on?
Nothing.
Yeah, you'll be a part of at least the protocol at some point.
Yeah. I there's nothing right now.
And then this.
I had a baseball tournament that I had to go to this past weekend, and it was like 30 degrees and freezing.
What, are you in the Arizona League, but they just forgot to move to Arizona?
No, our new team asked everyone if they wanted to be a part of the tournament, and it's going to be an indoor tournament. So we're like, absolutely, that sounds awesome. Like, how cool does that sound to play in like a massive bubble? Like, that sounds really cool. It'd be cool for my son to experience it.
And you were outside.
And then we like maybe 4 days before the tournament started, he's like, so the guy decided it's going to be outdoors because we're looking at like 55 degrees and slight wind. It's not going to be bad. So we're like, oh, okay, that sounds fine. What time are their games? And then like our first game on Saturday was at 4:30, so the sun was already going down, and it was beyond windy as shit. It was in Jackson, near Six Flags.
So
So
the part of Jersey that was like dealing with snow and shit.
yeah, it was awful. Like I don't know if you can tell my face is completely wind burned just from sitting in 30-degree weather, just being constantly just blown. Oh, it was awful.
Look at you
But
rocking the dad life.
yeah, we ended up he ended up making it to the championship game. Unfortunately, lost by 2, but
No.
it was a good first tournament. These kids never even seen each other. This is the first time they've all been together, so it was a fun time, fun experience.
Nice.
But yeah,
Well, we got
that's all I got.
Well, we got a lot of content on the horizon. I know we've got you earmarked for a few of the protocols, and then the Dace-tacular People segment. I'm going to start integrating BPP people, but at least the concept behind it was to integrate other people to kind of get like more eyes on our selfishly get more eyes on our product while also promoting their product, which I think has kind of worked. I don't know. I don't pay attention to numbers because they're depressing. And then we got the Gameathon in April. So we announced 2 prizes. We got a PS5 available, and then 4 tickets in the 200 section for the Atlanta Braves versus the Philadelphia Phillies at the end of May. I think it's May 27th.
It's going to be Chris Sale versus Wheeler, so it's going to be the Judgment Day.
Yeah, so you should totally donate. The GoFundMe's out there. I haven't pushed it because I'm waiting until after the holidays to start begging people for money.
Yeah.
But we actually just watched. Cheever and I went to the fall play at Deptford Township High School. And the program is thriving, which is fantastic because when we went the year before, I was nervous that it wasn't thriving, but there was a lot of 9th and 10th graders that were in the fall play this year. So that to me gives me a lot of hope that the program can keep going. And
absolutely.
At least our aspect, we're trying to put some money behind it so they can keep going because it's going to be a rough 4 years with no Department of Education. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here on the Jersey Phanatics. I've been Chris the Dace Man Dace. He's been Erik Berezzo.
Bye.
Ring that bell, and we'll see you next week.
Ring-a-ding-ding.